Ready.
Ready. Right, first guest on the podcast, and it's Harry Lightfoot. How excited is this?
Hey, this is good. This is nice.
No, right, I do appreciate you coming on though, because I figured like we've done 2 shows so far, me and Tori, and we wanted the first guest to be like, you know, someone that people are going to tune in for, because we're trying to build the brand. So don't be boring.
The budget's been a bit low on who you can get in. So.
Yeah, we asked a few people. But yeah, we're excited for it because obviously fittest in the UK.
Yeah.
And an experience at the games which we'll come on to later, because I'm not going to spunk my load over.
Yeah.
We want
He's learned that before over the years, finally.
So yeah, we'll come on to that later. But yeah, interesting stories to tell. But first, just wanted to talk about hybrid. So you are a hybrid. Would you say a hybrid athlete?
Hybrid athlete, but not a hybrid athlete.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean? That's the new thing now, isn't it?
And have you looked into what that means?
No, I'm scared to.
So I looked into it, I read it, because I knew this intro, we're going to go like this, so we're going to call you a hybrid athlete.
When I saw your book and I saw hybrid athlete, I almost threw the table at you.
So when I read it, apparently it's performing a variety of movements with the intent to progress in all of them. So it sounds a bit like CrossFit to me. So, yeah, people don't like CrossFit, some people, do they? So they become hybrid athlete. So anyway, when we were talking about hybrid athlete, what we mean is the brand hybrid you are a representative of.
Yeah.
And how's that work with you and Johnny and the guys over there?
That's like it all actually spawned from like I couldn't tell you when it was, but what year it was, but I know I had a local competition in like just the other side of Plymouth. I think it was like near Ivy Bridge, right? And I'm staying at a friend's house, and like I'd only been doing CrossFit like a year.
Yeah.
And I think they were talking about like CrossFit athletes get sponsored, and I was like, oh right, like,
sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Like I no way thought I was an athlete. I was just doing a local comp, and hybrid, like usually like they pop up and do little stores just like you do, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, they're going to be there. Like, should we see if he'll sponsor me? And I sent a message to Johnny. Like I said, I would have been like 18 years old. And I was like, hey, mate, like I've just learned to do double unders last week. Like, think I can get a bar muscle up this year. Can you sponsor me? And then it's kind of like we've always just sort of caught up. Same way I've probably met you over the years, right? Of like, go to comps. Like to think I'm always someone that will go and show my face and say hello to everyone. And then from there, Johnny just like, if I started like progressing and going to these bigger comps, and I think it was either French Throwdown or something after that, where Johnny was like, if there's any way I can help at all. And he's kind of, I think I said before on like another interview, or maybe I wrote it on an Instagram post, like my like day one sponsor. He's kind of just been there along the whole journey.
It's quality as well, because it's that loyalty that you both have for each other then, isn't it?
It's
like he's been with you since the start, and you've kind of been with him.
And he'll literally like just ring me and just have a chat, just like we were having a chat downstairs. And it feels quite genuine.
That's what you want though, isn't it? Because then you believe in the brand. Yeah. If you believe in the people.
Yeah.
And then that comes out in how you like sort of position that.
100%. Like I was saying about like the Knocko spot, like any sponsorship, like I realise like if someone approaches me, they see value, and I really do want to give something back. Yeah. And obviously, like whether it's paid or if it's not, like you're in there to do a job. Yeah. My famous saying from semi-finals, here to do a job. But like, so I always, if I can always try and return something back to them.
I think they're great as well. Like we talked in our first podcast, me and Tori, about the fact that everyone's sort of a competitor in the space, but if you treat people in the right way, then it don't have to feel like that. It can be mutually beneficial. If one does well, we all do well. Yeah. When I rang Johnny to make sure you're okay with you jumping on here, before I'd even finished my spiel that I'd sort of planned, you were like, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
And that's a fine example of that. And now we're talking about hybrid on the Defiant Co podcast. So we are then, and it's how it should be, I guess.
100%.
So, like I touched on a minute ago, we're not going to go straight into the games. We're going to leave them waiting for all that juicy stuff. Sure. So, for those that don't know, you came originally, your sporting background was more rugby based, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, how was that from a rugby point of view? Because it seems to have like party drinking culture and that kind of thing, or did you navigate that all right?
No, I get asked this all the time. Like I'm
not just another boring podcaster.
No, you're not. Yeah, because we could get deep into some stories if you want. But no, like it obviously like the drinking aspect, like the social aspect of rugby is rife, right? Like it's like massive. It's part of the culture. Any of my mates that like watch this or listen to this, they'll be like, "Nah, he never fucking got into it anyway." Like,
it's not by their standards.
But when I was like, I'm like at home, like my dad and that we don't drink. So like I didn't grow up with that. Got into rugby. And when I was playing rugby, I would maybe drink. I remember drinking maybe once a month. And I thought for me, like then that's not a lot. And the lads would like tear into me and be like, you know, like he never drinks and stuff. So then to switch over to now where I don't at all.
So it wasn't too much of a transition.
It wasn't, because in my head, I'm just a bit more grown up and a bit just growing up with it all, and I realised I could do that any other year, at whatever age, I can go and get pissed. And sort of it doesn't really bother me. It when I used to have a job at a pub, so I would see and I would just see my mates going out all the time as well. So maybe I kind of got used to that as well. But
it is one of those things as well. And like you said, you can drink any time. There's a very short shelf life to being able to do what you want to do. Like
my head's like that all the time. Like I don't really struggle with. Motivation doesn't really. It does get you far, but like that's only going to last a little bit. But I'm almost. I realise how short a lifespan sport does. Like sporting careers have, and I'm just fully aware that this isn't going to last forever. So to ruin that by going out on the piss every weekend. But saying that, like I remember I was talking to Mike about this. I remember I would maybe go out on a Saturday night or something and then go and train the next day.
You'd still get up and get it done.
Yeah, and I'd be absolutely fine. And when I was back in, there was like a turning point. I went to train with a mate of mine in Plymouth, and he'd like never met me. Well, this is like the first time we met, and did this workout, and he was like, "Wow, you're actually like quite
decent
at this." And I was going out with my mates in the evening, so he was like, "How like
if I didn't do that, how good could I be?"
Yeah, kind of. So it was kind of a little bit of a turning point. But the way I'm saying that is like I went out every weekend, but I probably went out once every month, 2 months, maybe not even that.
But did it right when you did.
That's me now though. Like, come the end of a comp. Because I do enjoy it. Like, I need a burnout.
And you're a sociable guy as well, aren't you? So like that fun element of like
I just get so excited. But Abby hates it. She just hates that I'll go from like 0 to 100 and I remember like one of our first big seasons, Mike was like, we finished our season, he was like, right, don't go drinking or anything. And then he was like, actually, do what you want. Go do what you want. And I went away with my 2 best mates to Croatia for 11 days. Like best and worst thing I've ever done. But then when I come back, because I remember hearing a quote once about like absence makes the heart grow fonder. If I'm away from it, I miss it, and then I get back and I won't even think about touching alcohol. It doesn't even cross my mind now.
That's good.
Couldn't think of anything
And then plus,
worse.
like you say, now you're seeing the results of actually consistency and what you can do when you're not, because it is bad for you.
It's just I remember like Miami again. We like one night out, next day, feel terrible. I'm like, I can't believe. You always do. You're like, I can't believe I've done this and never going to do it again.
I read something once that said, which I thought were quite profound, is you'll never regret not having a hangover. So you never wake up on a Sunday morning thinking, oh, fucking hell, I wish I felt like shit this morning. So like that's the way that if you're trying to do things and be better, that's a good way to look at it. You'll never regret not doing something that's bad for you.
But like you said, for me, it's done. It's out my system. And that will build, like right now, I couldn't think of anything worse than doing it. But it will build and build. And after I qualified for the games, had half a beer and wanted to go to bed. I just didn't feel like it. that night. But
you've got a natural high there.
Yeah,
you don't need that.
No, exactly.
When you've got that natural buzz of something like that you've worked so hard to
achieve,
no beer or any other drug's going to compare.
Plus,
to that.
we were in drug testing for like 3 or 4 hours.
So
it kind of went high, and then you just sat in this room with everyone.
I remember after Berlin waiting for Georgia. And her and Moz were in there for ages, and
they were into like almost like midnight or something.
I were incoherent by the time they got out. I celebrated for
it was good. That similar thing happened this year.
So one last question on the rugby then.
Yeah.
CrossFit's renowned, or I think unfairly renowned for injuries. Do you think there's more injuries in rugby or CrossFit?
Rugby.
Yeah.
I used to get, it's funny now because if I get like a niggle or something, I get a little bit worried.
Yeah.
When I remember like tearing my calf in rugby, if I tore my calf now, I'd be worried about it for weeks.
Yeah.
I remember tearing my calf in rugby, and I'd be out for a few weeks, but it didn't really like bother me that much. But
you didn't feel like you were missing
often
anything.
Got injury. So we don't do anything lateral or anything like that in CrossFit. So hips and that all feel pretty good, and way more injured in rugby. But it makes me, when I do get injured now, I'm like shit. And then I'm fine, and then I'll just book straight into physio up
and
here.
You just manage your body, don't you? You just avoid that movement for a little bit because that's the thing with
CrossFit. I think I'm quite good at like zooming out, looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, the world's coming to an end.
Well, that's it. At first, you get a little injury, you can't train that particular thing, and you're like, it's the end of the world. But when you realise that there's so much you can do. I've seen people in our gym with like pops on the leg, just sitting down skiing. You're still getting fitter. You're still doing
easy.
And also, it's that mindset again, isn't it? It's like that's not beat you. You're injured, but you're still going on and doing what you can do, rather than letting.
When in rugby, that's it. You're out. Like you're ruled out.
I guess you're gonna be because
I mean, you can't do your job.
Yeah, when a 20 stone brick shit house.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the difference between like you're competing at rugby every week versus and things like this are out of your control, but like. You have a date of when you're competing in CrossFit, and you're just hoping everything leading up to that is sound and goes well. But when you're like, I don't know, if you've done something in rugby, that's it. You can't play for weeks, and
so rugby's more dangerous than CrossFit.
Rugby's way more dangerous.
Right, that's good. So next, we're going to talk about obviously you're part of AOD, Max, your current coach. How did you come to hear about AOD, and how did that relationship start?
I was just doing maybe like when I first started doing CrossFit, I was maybe doing like 1, maybe 2 CrossFit sessions a week.
Yeah.
I would
in a class, was that?
Well, it would depend. Like if I didn't have rugby on or didn't have, because I was in sixth form at the time. So if I could get there in time, I would go to 1 class.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just go and do like. I remember having comp trainers, like, do you remember signing up to the emails and getting them? I would like see that, go to the local gym and try and do something.
So you were like JD or something. You were that guy.
I had a workout on my phone. We looked at it the other day, and I used to do it every week, and it was like a descending ladder of hang cleans, I think deadlifts, hang cleans, push press, and pull ups. And I just used to do that every week. Yeah, I was a bit thick with it. And then like that obviously like progressed, and then I started like doing comp train. And I remember, because I was just playing rugby at the time, and the way I looked at CrossFit was like this method, this like strength and conditioning program suits really well with my rugby. That like I said, I only did like 2 or 3 sessions. I think I bumped another day on there, but 2 or 3 sessions in the week to go alongside my rugby worked perfect. And when rugby season finished, if I would like do a comp, we do like 1 and all, and do mainly teams. I didn't do it. I think I did 1 individual comp when I first started, and things like the weightlifting that I picked up really like easily. The gymnastics took a bit more time. That was hard for me to get into. And probably because I was maybe used to like loads of compound lifts and stuff from like 13 growing up.
Was it more mobility then, do you think, from doing all that, or was it?
The crossover to doing the Olympic lifts?
No, more the sort of the struggles with gymnastics.
I don't. I remember thinking that my mobility wasn't that bad.
Right.
I don't think I've ever. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know really.
I'm just imagining rugby players to just be all
Yeah.
stiff and strong.
I mean, like if you go back and look at like my first ring muscle is stiff, so probably because you're just used to tackling and that all the time. But and I remember being on Instagram once, and it was actually Mike that I came across.
Yeah.
And the boys, because they're fairly new. They've only been going for a few years.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more than I think now, but they had like a generic program which still goes on, and they used to have 3. So you would pay for the generic program, and there was 3 sub tracks, like Athena, Kratos, and I'm trying to think of what other Greek.
Let's just say
there was like
Olympus or something.
Yeah, something like that. And one of them was like Harry wrote this one, and it was like the weightlifting track. Adam wrote the endurance track, and Mike wrote the gymnastics track that went alongside it, and you could pick one.
Right.
And I remember seeing Mike on Instagram, and I really loved like his method of breaking everything down and how he went about things. And I just used to follow him, and I really liked that. And just before lockdown, I was like, I'm going to sign up to a program. I'm going to pay, I think it was like £20-30 a month.
It's not bad, is it?
No, and I was like, I'm only going to do my 3 sessions because I've got rugby, but at least on the gymnastics track there are 3 sessions. I was like, perfect. I'll just focus on that. Yeah. And then lockdown hit, and I was like, right, I can't play rugby, so I just started doing CrossFit all the time, and then kind of just went from there. And then that first quarterfinal year, I remember over the years then.
Was that 2020? Was that when? Was that
2021? That's when they all went.
Oh, when it came back, because 2020 was at the ranch, wasn't it? That was the COVID year.
That was the
everything was online until
was there quarterfinals that year?
Yeah, but it was all online, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So maybe it was either 2020 or 2021. Like I've like kind of like, when did we go into? Look, anyway, it doesn't matter. I've like got to know like the boys just over like online.
Yeah, because we know what else to do except chat.
Literally. And just like we are now, we're good mates and throwing around chat. And after the first quarterfinals, no expectations to like go to semis or anything like that. And I think it was either Harry or Mike was just like, look, like, I think you need to have a think about this, because obviously we're not going to be in COVID forever. And do you want to go back to rugby, or do you want to give this a go? Because we actually think that you could have a good crack at this. And I'd love to know, I actually thought this the other day, I'd love to know what was the turning point for them where they thought,
what did they see in you?
Yeah. I've actually never asked that, but and then I kind of went on like a bespoke program with Mike ever since then.
I guess from a coaching point of view though, you know, if you see someone that's obviously you have the sporting background, which is an advantage, and if they're seeing you actually do what they say on a daily basis, seeing the improvements, for a coach, that's perfect, because most people say they want to be coached, but they don't. They just want someone to massage their ego. If they say to you, do this, and you go away and do it and come back, and they see a bit of ability in you, that's just perfect for any coach.
With after semi-finals, Mike and I both got interviewed by Morning Chalk Up, and we got interviewed separately. Yeah. And Mike told me his interview didn't even get put on the thing in the end.
Was that semis this year?
Yeah, semis this year. And they asked like, what's Harry's greatest attribute? And he said, which was really kind of him, was like, he's coachable.
Yeah.
I can tell him to do something and he'll go and do it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't completely mean that I do everything that's there and but I give him feedback. Yeah. Like we were talking about this the other day of like, and we're thinking about putting a post up soon of getting 2 people's programs side by side and just ticking, like you got a workout and ticking, enjoyed that. Yeah. Versus me, I'm putting splits down and I've got everything to like,
because you want them to have more info to help you.
And he said he was like, his greatest attribute is he's coachable. Yeah. He will give me stuff back and he will do what I tell him. And it also works well that I'll say, look, Mike, I don't think that was the right way. And I will go then do it a different way. And he'll hold his hands up and and he's learned something then. And then that just, over these years, we've just built up this rapport, and it's like now it is a friendship. Like we're so good mates now, but we know each other so well.
It's trusting then, and that's the main thing. Because sometimes I guess some stuff will come up and you'll be like, fucking hell.
Yeah, sometimes there's been times where he said to do something, I've gone, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And it's paid off.
Yeah, you've gone, right, I'll give it a go. You know better than me.
And it's and it's like, take quarterfinals this year. Like there was that wall ball and burpee one, and I went against the plan. But then Mike was like, do you know what? This kid knows himself so well that I've got it wrong. And then I just went over what we expected.
Yeah, brutal that workout.
Hanging, absolutely hanging.
I remember seeing, Taylor Self.
Yeah.
Seeing when he did it with
and
he just passed out.
I know.
He just went out cold. Like, it's crazy.
It was bad.
Go into that place.
Yeah.
So we covered AOD a bit there, and then obviously their hub is here at Blueprint, where we are today. Worcester, obviously that's quite a distance from from deep south where you are. Yeah. So what was that sort of transition like, moving up here? Obviously that's going to impact your relationships, your friendships, your family, all that is back home. How did you find that move from, I don't mean from a fitness point of view, but from that point of view, firstly, like from all those types of things? It
was something, the move was like joked about for years.
Yeah.
And then a lot of my friends were kind of like, my friends were seeing me like evolve and going from I used to see them all the time.
Yeah.
So now I'm not seeing them as much, and they're seeing how much I'm involving in this sport, and I'm so lucky that they get it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, I've had friends that don't.
Yeah,
and that's life, right? Unfortunately, things fizzle out, and I'm fine. I'm like mature enough to understand that I am lucky. I have got a set of friends that do get it.
I think that's what friends are, though, isn't it? If they fall away when you do something different. Then they weren't supposed to.
We'll just pick up on it every time we catch. We'll just pick up from where we left off.
Yeah.
But I just have to put up with the chat along with it. So I'll get some shit dished at me, but
you can give it out, though.
They'll tell you differently. But so from like my friend's point, they were kind of like, surely something you can't just stay in Cornwall and do this. Like again, all our backgrounds of like rugby and stuff, if you're good, you get picked up by a team, you move away. And then also we're like, life's a little short, like not to be cliche and stuff, but to turn around and be like, that opportunity came up, but I didn't pick it because I wanted to stay at home. Like I didn't want to. And when I'm very close with my dad, and I remember having chats with him again when it was being joked about the idea of me moving. He was like, "Look, like if the opportunity comes, you've got to take it." And with Abs, like tougher with her really, because she became a part of my life. Maybe not perhaps from the beginning.
Yeah.
So probably doesn't make it as tough, because when we got together, I was already on like this upward trajectory of like made semis that year and stuff like that. So she kind of like came into it whilst I was in like the early stage.
So it wasn't a change.
It wasn't like
you knew you were on this.
It was not like she's been with me since I was playing rugby. And so which I'm sure maybe that would have been harder, but it was hard enough as well, just to be like, look, Abs, like she is a priority. And I'll be brutally honest, like maybe it's not the priority right now, but she is a priority of mine. And I'm just very lucky that, she wasn't going to hold me back from that as well. Again, I think just who I've got around me, very lucky that no one was going to pull me down. And
how do you think that sort of looks moving forward then? Because obviously that conversation of, right, I'm going to go to Worcester because I think I can make the games. Right, you moved to Worcester and made the games. Now it's like, your fucking fire is going to be burning more. I want to do more. I want to do more. So like, is that argument, or not argument, or is that conversation more difficult because it's like, right, now I'm going to stay in Worcester because I can get top 10. Now I'm going to stay in Worcester.
Her brother said to me once, it was last year, I come home and he goes, if you don't make the games this year, what does that mean? Are you going to see it as a failure? And I was like, I just like straight away was like, no.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, because like in so many other ways I've grown.
Yeah.
Like in so many other ways, like, and we had this chat, like if it didn't work, we would review it and be like,
yeah,
did I get worse? Did I get better? Did this change of environment actually help me? Because do you remember downstairs we were talking, like leading up to Berlin, let's say, all I did was train on my own.
Yeah.
And you know, like people might watch and go, oh, I trained with you. And like, I did do a bit, like I'd go around sometimes, but the majority of it was all on my own. I didn't need that external factor of like to push me. And then now I've come into this environment now, it's just another gear, right?
Oh, you look 28th in Berlin, 8th in Lyon.
Yeah.
Like,
so, yeah.
And it was arguably a more competitive field this year as well. So it's not only, that has obviously had a positive impact. So, you know, even if you had been 11th and then not quite made it, then it's still massive progress, which in a sport like this isn't incremental because everyone's working just as hard.
Yeah, that's it. There's and it's interesting, right? Because I'm sure there'll be people that will watch this, like wanting to find it. Yeah. Let's hope. Like, what's the secret there? And it's same. Like, I'll interestingly watch like other athletes.
Well, everyone wants that magic pill, mate.
Yeah, so and there's not.
Oh, it's Worcester. If I move to Worcester, I'll go to games. You still got to do.
And it's just not like people will come and. Like it's like I'm loving as well. I remember saying to the boys, like I'm their first individual games athlete they've had, and I'm homegrown. Do you know what I mean? It's class, and I hope that's going to have a positive. I hope that's going to have a benefit for them, and people are going to come on. But when you come in, you see it. It's not actually any like everyone's just doing their own thing anyway.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just chipping away in the shadows. Or they're competing too much. Like what, do you know what I mean? But to go back to your question, like, it does. There's I don't know, like a bit more of a target on your back now, and pressure's a privilege, and
it is. Isn't it? If you channel it in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. If you can deal with it.
Yeah.
And I kind of love it.
Yeah. It's amazing. And then obviously when you made the games, and Amy, who's also here, made the games.
That's good. We were like. Fuck, like if one of us made it and the other didn't, we would have been, because like the last year has been brilliant. Like we knew each other briefly, like we really got to know each other well this last year, and like her and Abs get on well, and like it's such a nice, you saw this morning, it's such a nice atmosphere up here. But we've gotten really, really close, and we were like, one of us would have been so happy for each other. But what, like, the games training would have been just like awful.
How does it work from a training point of view then? Because obviously she's team training program, you're AOD, but I see you do a lot of stuff together. Yeah. Do you just kind of follow your own thing, but then throw down on certain workouts as benchmarks?
What we do is, again, we're lucky, like, so team training and AOD obviously both operate out of Blueprint and out of Worcester. Amy's with Fraser, I'm with Mike, and again, because there's no, you know, like it's pretty like obvious who's with each other, and we're not going to go saying otherwise. And like this is just a good relationship there. So Mike and Fraser just sort of sit down together. There's things that with Amy and me, there's probably things that she's good at and I'm not so much. That works well, and then vice versa the other way. So those two just sort of push each other, like plug these. Have you ever seen Avatar when they're like plug the hair?
Them blue things.
That's those two, right? those blue things. You've never watched it, have you?
Mate, you're 3.5 hours.
But those two, they like get their programming brains together,
right? And
they just like structure the week, and they kind of just share it out between them, and it just kind of has worked really well.
I remember like Matt and Tia when they started training together. It took. Although it's hard to say they're at another level, but it seemed to elevate them to another level because you kind of competitive against someone that you're not competitive against.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not like you're training with another bloke or she's training with another girl. You're not looking over your shoulder. You're just pushing each other in a really natural way.
Did you see that Buttery Bros video with me and Ames?
Yeah.
So I went and said, so they did that interview down there, and I go, yeah, people have referred to us as the like European Tia and Matt. And anyway, that interview finished, and then there's a couple of members just go, who said that?
Yeah, no one said that.
No one said that. And basically what I meant was like, exactly like you just said there, of like, that worked. Could this work? Because we're not direct competition.
Yeah.
But so when we do go head to head with each other, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
She'll beat me at things, she'll smoke me at things, and that's fine. And it will go the other way. But like, we're not in each other's heads of like, am I good enough? And that, like, we'll take things from each other on that, and it is really healthy, really healthy.
What Buttery Bros? Just since you mentioned that,
are
they like that mental off camera as well? Because
they
must take a hell of a lot of energy.
It's like they've taken something as soon as the camera's on, and then they're just at a massive low.
Oh,
it
is like
that. They are. You can see that they have to switch it on and off.
Work their bollocks off them lads, don't they?
Yeah.
They work hard.
They were like, they turned up here, and they'd had, I think he said like 4 or 5 hours sleep. They had a monster on the way up here. They were like late, and they flew. What was it? They flew in Tuesday, spent a day with Craig Ritchie, editing Tuesday night. Came here and were flying to Marbella on the Wednesday night.
They were tired. That must have been a draining day.
Yeah. So they were like I said, high when the camera's on, low.
Yeah.
But Julian, like he was high the whole time. Like we'd be walking and he's like swearing like loads all the time.
I'm not swearing too much for you, am
I think I'm swearing more.
Oh,
this is about, you know what I mean? No, like it's but yeah, no, I think they were like they turned it on when they needed to.
Good. Right, so games, we made it. And was like 21 at the games, 21st place. Thoughts on that? When going in, would you have took that?
Yeah, everyone was asking like, where do you want to place?
Yeah.
And I had a number, but I wasn't telling anyone. I was like, not sure. I wasn't being like, oh, I just want to enjoy it, because that's not me.
No.
But I was sort of going. Like, I wanted top 20. I didn't want to be in that bottom 10 where then everyone's like, oh, they're never going to make it back. I am realistic of. There are guys in that top 10. There's guys in that top 20 that if it's same as semi-finals this year, that you could write down 20 people that could have gone to the games in Europe, right? And it's the same with it. Like you could have written 10 people that could win, like possibly podium at the games there. Like
the male division this year was wide open, wasn't it, for that? Definitely. Yeah,
massively. And I'm realistic. I'm not going to go. I'm going to win it because right now that's not the goal, and it's not realistic. I can only play what's in front of me. So I want to come top 20. But then if those workouts they're just not great for me, then I have to perform the best I can, and that's the outcome will be what it will be.
So them 2 workouts that were supposed to be in that were cut, how would they have been for you? Helped you or hindered you? The sledgehammer one.
Sledgehammer one.
Is that just a bit of an unknown because
that was unknown, but Mike and I think would have done all right at that.
Yeah.
And I do think with the Amanda 45 would have been. I'd like to have put in the top 20 somewhere.
Yeah. So you say that in the top 20.
Yeah, go on.
All your events at the games, you finished in the top 20 except for 2, and both of them had running in. And is that, would you say, a weakness, or was that just by chance?
I'd say a bit of both on that. Like the swim event, so I'm not an amazing swimmer, but I'm not poor.
Yeah.
And there was a 5.5k run, and then into that 900 meter swim. And I was like, look, like I'm not the best swimmer, but to try and make grounds on someone in a swim is so hard.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to have to play to my strengths here. Now, on a longer run, I do back myself because, like say, we were doing a 5.5 run into the swim. and my watch went off at 19:24 for 5K.
Decent.
So like and we're going to play about with some things now, and try and hunt down like a sub 19, because I haven't done a 5K for time in years.
What was it? Obviously, we'll come on to it in a bit more detail, but was it ridiculously hot? Obviously, the sun wasn't even up, but was it warm?
It was, we'll go on to that. Yeah, like, because it was 5:30 in the morning, we left, and it was 24 degrees already at 5:30 in the morning.
Where I'm from, that's a summertime.
Yeah. When we were there, like, we went out to the games 2 weeks early to try and acclimatise. I remember seeing people out there for a month, and I was like, if people can afford it, I get it.
Yeah.
And then when we were there, I was like, wow, I really get it now.
So do you think next year you'd look to...
If I can afford it again, if it will all come down to that. I don't, and we have learnt this over the years, I don't travel well.
Yeah. In what respects? Just like...
I could sit in a car for a few hours, just get out and feel a bit rubbish and sloggy.
So it takes you some turning around.
A little time. I just need a bit of time. Yeah. French throwdown, even though that's only like 2 hours, like I remember I think I needed just a day just to settle and feel fine.
What, to go to France?
Yeah, mate, bad. Yeah, I know, literally. When we went to Berlin, like, luckily, Berlin and Lyon were fine because the temperature was pretty similar to back here, so it felt fine. When we went to Miami 2 years ago, have you heard about this? Yeah. Like passing out, passed out in the gym in front of Noah Olsen, all these games athletes. So like when we got to Texas, it was so hot. Like most days was in the 30s, like mid 30s, and Amy, and we can see this through the year. Like when we're doing like our recovery and we go in a sauna, Ames will sit on the top and be splashing that fucking thing, and I like 10-15 minutes in, I'm on the bottom thing. Like
she's in Bali most of the year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, she loves it. Yeah. And so anyway, we got out there. It took a few weeks, which was good. But the run we started, and it was hot, and it was good. They had like little water stations. Yeah. And just like out of instinct, like anytime I saw a water station, bang, kept going. And I was like maybe 5th or 6th into the water, and we'd done 2 run swim sessions at a different lake. And when we were getting in the lake, it was like getting into a really cool bath. Yeah. And I was like, this is warm, but it was kind of cooling a bit. Yeah. But it was warm. And we were then, like the week before the games, we went to the lake where the games was, or where the event was going to happen. And it's about the same. So day of the event, like 5th or 6th in the water, I'm pretty confident. And I got in and it was hot. Yeah. So hot. And the rumor afterwards was going around that it was 32 degrees, the water. Right. Which you got to think, if you're sweating, but your body just can't tell, like the outside temperature is hot, so it's just gonna keep sweating through, and you can't regulate your body temperature. Yeah. So
especially when your heart rate's fluctuating.
Exactly. Yeah. And I got in, and I was swimming, and I was like, I'm finding this so hard. Yeah. But it didn't cross my mind to be like, I don't feel safe. Yeah. What crossed my mind in the swim event was I had people overtaking me. It was a lot of girls. A lot of girls overtaking me.
You just grab one's leg and...
Yeah, should have done, yeah. And I remember being... At one point, I was like, I'm not sure. I must be near the back. And as I took a breath, I looked, and there were so many people behind me. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to... Like, I wanted top 20 in this event. I need to just finish this event now.
You don't know who's passing you either.
Exactly.
Male, female,
exactly. Which obviously was what was going on. Yeah. But obviously quite a few blokes were passing me. But just it was so hard. Yeah. The swim was so hard, and you just felt zapped. Yeah. Like nothing in you. And I remember once I was looking over, and my biggest thing was the sighting. I was worried about that because in Miami I swam to the wrong buoy and all that. So Mike was like, if in doubt, just
stop and have a look around.
Look, go. And because of the sun, and everyone's moaning about the sun. I'm not moaning about the sun at all, because what can you do?
Yeah.
But the goggles we were given, we were all made to wear.
Oh, you couldn't.
We had to wear. Yeah, we had to wear Roka like pool goggles, and when you look, that you just couldn't see anything. So I saw arms, and I was like, right, that's just again instant. Like that's going to be my point now. And I remember taking a breath and seeing people swimming off.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, have I gone wrong here? And then look, and then like there's no paddleboard or anything near you. So it obviously didn't sink into my head that I was unsafe. But now looking back on it, you're like, yeah, it was. But the come out of the water, I couldn't see. My left eye was just blurry, and I just thought must be water in my eye.
Yeah. And
I was just absolutely drained. And Amy was the worst. Now, hence why I was talking about like the heat thing earlier. Ames can deal with the heat so well. I've come out, Mike's like, you're right. Yeah, and sorting out. And Ames, she talks crap at the best of times, but she's just talking like gibberish.
Yeah.
None of the conversations are making sense. She can't hold her arms above her head. And she just got in the cold into the ice tub and just wouldn't get out.
Yeah.
Mike, like it was, and
Mike,
they really think she had like early onset heat stroke. Because again, like if we were doing run swim events, now Amy again is a very good runner, both long distance and short, as we can see.
Yeah.
And she took like I think she was bottom 20 in that workout as well. And
normally that'd be a bit of a
I think I would have beaten her at that, but she wouldn't have been too far behind me.
Yeah.
And she really, really struggled, and we wouldn't have seen that coming from her. And we didn't have to compete for the rest of the day, so I don't know what that would have looked like if we were to. I don't know what that would have looked like for her, but no, it was really, really hot.
So we'll come on to like obviously the meat of that entire situation, but before we do, I think we need to talk about Firestorm though. So a bit more uplifted.
Yeah.
Did you? What was it again? Burpees and echo. What was it?
3 rounds time of 15 cow echo, 11 like
over the
11 thingy.
So did you look at that and go, right, I'm having some of this?
I saw that and I was like, the only other thing that you could add to this that would make it better is some thrusters. Just grunt stuff like that. Like that's perfect for me. And when I'm like when I'm warming up and stuff, you won't get a word out of me. Like I'm chatting now.
Yeah.
Come warming up and.
Do you mean more so for a workout like that, or any workout?
Any workout. Any workout. If I'm like I am now in a comp,
something's wrong.
Something's not right. Like I'm like exactly like I am like dead quiet, and so especially things that when things come up that I know that I'm really good at.
Yeah,
I'm even
that nervous energy.
Yeah, I can't. You definitely won't get a word out of me.
Echo back warming up, a little bit of wheeze coming out.
That's it, like, but the only thing I was like, there are some big boys here.
Yeah.
Because when I went to Miami last year, we just saw it for ourselves. Like these Dallin and Jason,
they're huge, aren't they?
Huge. They're like jocks. They're massive.
They're a tight end in American
football.
Exactly.
Jason, they are huge. And do you see that SoCal event with Dallin? Like 38 seconds. They are massive. And I was like, okay, it is excuses, but I am physically just not as big as them. So I'm like, well, I don't know where I'm going to play out here. But when we were corralling, they had like TVs for us to watch. And I was just watching these burpees just drop off a bit.
Yeah. Well, that was it, wasn't it? Because it did. Everyone did.
And I was like, if I can, I'll hold my own on the bike. And 3 rounds of 50, there's no tactics. It's just all go. All go. And I was like, if I can keep this burpee speed up, I think
that's where you were getting them all the time, wasn't it? And then
I was like, I think this is where I can have it. And like Mike, I think Brandon Luckett caught me at the very end.
Tight at the end.
And Mike was like, could you not have just put a bit more effort in for a bit more? But so we had a debate, didn't we? You said you were 6th
on the CrossFit Games
I
website.
thought I was
It said 7th.
Yeah.
But we know what they can be like with updating stuff. So.
Terrible.
I'm going with you.
Yeah. I thought I was 6th in that. Yeah.
When you looked at them on paper before, was that the one that you thought, right, this is one where I can really get a, top 10, top 5 score?
I don't know if I thought that, because to come top 10 at a games event is legit.
Crazy,
that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, I came 10th in Chad, and I did not expect that.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all.
I think, people going into that, all the commentary and the pundits were talking about it's a big man's event.
Yeah.
It's someone who's got it up here, because you can be as big as you want, but if you can't get in your own head for 45 minutes and just grind.
It is a big man event as long as they've got that. Okay.
Yeah. Any weakness up there?
Because we didn't expect it. If Mike was here, he'd be like, I kind of did, because the week prior we did like a lot of, we didn't do Chad, but we did some stuff to build up the volume to get ready for it. And we did some intervals, and he was like, this is looking really good.
Yeah.
Now with the head thing, I remember we were told to come in for briefing for 7:30, grab your bag, picked up this bag, and I was like, this feels heavier. And we weighed it, and it was.
Oh, it was?
All the mail bags were 55 pounds, not 45. And anyway, Amy was going, are these heavier? And I was like, no, you're probably tired. Don't think about it.
You don't want it,
no,
do you?
Exactly. And I was like, I can't have anyone thinking like that. And we had briefing for half an hour, and then 15 minutes we were going on to the event, which in the brief they showed this pyramid boxing. You have to, I don't know, did it say on the commentary? Yeah.
And if you did a no rep, you had to go all the way back.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
And I had a Noah Kai, I had right next to me a Noah Kai and Cole Sager.
Yeah.
And they would every now and then they would get a no rep, and I'd be like 1-0. Yeah. 2-0. I've got you here.
Yeah.
I got 1 no rep on the whole thing, and that luckily that was at the start, so I just came back.
Oh, so you didn't even really lose a full.
And then every time in my peripheral, because I wouldn't look around, but if they would come off the box and go, I was like, yeah, I've got you. So I would just go step, off we go again.
And use them. You see someone that gives you that bounce.
As soon as I see that, I'm like, I've beaten you.
Yeah. And that you can only really go against what's either side of you,
exactly. And then as well, on the Tannoy, they were saying Ricky Garrard on these many reps, and I was like, I'm ahead because I know how many reps I'm on, so this is good.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these workouts were given, you're briefed on the day. You don't know what they are until the day.
Yeah, you have an idea.
So I don't really and again, going back to where I wanted to place, I want to place in that top 20, but I don't know what I'm going to come up against. Yeah. So it is, just do the best you can. But whatever is in front of me, I have to perform and execute to the best of my ability. And where the chips fall is where they do.
And if you're happy that you've given it everything you've got, and you're as prepared as you can be, then you're pretty happy with whatever the result, aren't you?
And then again, I always say it if it didn't pay off, that's all right. What did you learn from that? Yeah. And even the things that you win from, what did you learn from that? So there wouldn't be an event, and I'm like, I'm gonna come top 10 in this, because I was like, to come top 10 in the games, that's
get what you're saying.
Hard. You got that's serious going there. So just again, that was just dialed in, knew exactly what I need to do, and where the chips fall, that's what we get. And great, 7th, all right, and a 10th, great,
And you didn't know before I told you a minute ago that you were top 20 in all workouts except
I didn't know. I didn't realize.
Awesome.
And when again people ask, because everyone's so excited when you got home, everyone's so excited, and you're talking to people. Are you happy with how it went? And I'm like, I wanted top 20. I came 21st. But when I look at that leaderboard, there wasn't a first, a 40th. It's very consistent. And
that's what it's about. And that's,
it is. And to be honest, right now, that this year at the games, that is the best I could have done. It reflects me quite well. What we can only get better, but we can only develop on that. But that's where I am in that field. what do we need to do now to be better?
And so you're happy with where you came? So like, I guess this question is twofold, because like Sprague winning it, some people have said it weren't a real win because
I think it's brutal.
The changes and then people dropping out, and obviously with Lazar, like people dropped out. Obviously he wasn't there, and like you've just said, you can only do what you can do. So anyone that's sort of trying to take what he's done away from you, it's pretty shit, isn't it?
Do you know what, I don't know as well if it's his personality that does it, and people just don't. People like him, and people don't warm to him, right? And I wonder. I hope it's not like this. I hope you're actually looking at his performances, because he is a fit guy. Like you can't take that away from him that he's just won the games. I think it's crazy. I wouldn't have thought that, but I'm wrong, because
and them last two workouts shouldn't have been. He just managed himself brilliantly in them, and it's like. Yeah, I thought it was harsh, like, and obviously, we were getting shit for celebrating as well and being happy.
But what's it, like, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right. So we've had a bit of a mare, haven't we?
Yeah. Well.
For some reason, this bastard thing cut out. You just said I didn't swear. So we were in his flow.
Yeah.
With like 50 odd minutes, we'd done. And then we talked for another half an hour, and we were brilliant.
Let's make it work. We were on for another 4.
Yeah.
It went on for ages.
Everything. And then we got to camera, and it had cut out after 52. So I'm going to check it's working. Right, it's on.
Okay.
So we talked about James Sprague, and was he? We talked about that, and then we were going to go into the meaty stuff. It's like it new.
I know.
So the meaty stuff to me is all about what happened then. On that Thursday evening, obviously the tragedy happened in the morning with Lazar, and then you all ended up in some kind of briefing in the evening. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So on, like no one, obviously with it happening so soon, like nobody was sure about what was going to happen. And we all got like an email that we were coming in to this meeting, and I think like there was that guy that did an interview with Hiller that posted up about it, and that sort of gave out a really good sort of brief outline. I think it was a bit like overcooked, like it was really bad, but and
no place for truth on the internet.
And we were kind of listen to, like, the games is going to go ahead. Obviously Dave said what he said, which we've later come to learn like wasn't entirely like gospel, but never mind. But then it started kicking off a bit, and everyone, like, pins are flying in from everywhere. So we get sort of split off into our groups, like indie men, women, teams, and then coaches. And basically as these smaller groups, what do we think? And we're going to come back in, put all these points across. And I was saying to you earlier, like, not that it's a click, but like if you've been back to back a few years, like there's an inner circle, you might, and this may be just how I felt, right? Like I felt like they would have a bit more of a say, but that's coming from a rookie that maybe didn't necessarily think he's got as much of a voice. Yeah. So maybe 6 of one, half a dozen of others. Yeah, exactly. Maybe I should have been a bit more. But anyway.
But I guess if you felt your views were being represented,
it did. There was no need to, exactly. That's what was happening a lot. Was like at times I felt like, well, I'm not sure about these points, and then someone like Patty V and Brent would just come in with their views, and I was like, yeah, they really align with mine. Yeah. So kind of didn't really have to talk. Then we sort of came back together. Points went across, and they were like, right, like I said, they all did this within those, we must have been there 2, maybe 3 hours, but in that time they were like, we come back together, and they've gone, right, we're gonna bring up this survey, and a survey got sent around very, very quick. 3 questions, like, do you want to continue? Yeah. If we continue, or like, if it was to continue, do you want a ceremony in the morning with just competition to resume as normal, or ceremony and we don't compete until the later afternoon, I think, something like that. And then the third one was like, is there anything else we could be doing?
So that's pretty good then.
Yeah. And I think it was like 70-80% more said yes to competing than no.
Yeah.
And again, it's obviously like you heard the voice that from the comments, the Instagram posts, everything. It was the more the people that didn't want to carry on that you heard more of. But
that
the
was
data's there. Like,
yeah, and I think it always is the case in situations like this where when something bad happens, if you feel like you're on the side of moral virtue for that bad thing, your voice will be, amplified. And
it's like politics, right? It's
exactly.
like you might not agree with Labour, might not agree with the Conservatives, but yet they've got voted into power, and same with like anything,
it is and that's the other difficulty, isn't it? If you give people a choice and then their choice isn't met, they feel wronged.
Exactly.
Them, which is a difficult thing to do, because I think in a situation like that, you kind of have to test the water and see who wants to carry on and who doesn't.
So, you know what, saying that, Mike and I, that is exactly how we were thinking. We're like, people were sort of saying, "Oh, they haven't given us clarity on what's going to happen." It's like, yes, they have. They said it's going ahead.
Yeah.
If you feel like whatever aligns with your morals, like if you think it's wrong, don't compete. If you think it's right, compete. They were like, so again, when we were in our little groups, there were like people that were stepping forward. Maybe not necessarily saying they want to boycott it, but how they wanted the weekend to pan out.
Yeah.
They're boycotting it. And they were saying like, you know what, let's not do the events. And one of the things was like, let's go to local CrossFit gyms tomorrow and share bring back this community aspect. And I was like,
that's actually doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Like I don't, what does that do? And then there was some that were like, we need another day off. And I'm like, okay, so does a day off just resolve it? Like it won't.
No.
But again, it's like, because people were acting out of like emotion.
Yeah. It's not rational.
It's not rational at all. And it's like, the same thing is like, there was no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It could have been cancelled, right? I was very, very confident it wasn't, from like the business, from money and everything that you've got to think like that. It couldn't.
Well, I thought that from a vendor point of view, because some of those, especially the smaller vendors, will have put their business on the line to elevate their brand over that weekend. So they could potentially have, you could argue that you shouldn't put yourself at risk like that, but you absolutely should. We did it this year at Arnold. Mm-hmm. We didn't put the business at risk, but it was a massive gamble and it paid off.
Yeah.
But going to the games, that'd be way more than Arnold. And, if you cancel it, you're forgetting all those people, and not to mention the people that have travelled thousands of miles to be there.
I don't know how their insurance works, but I'm sure if you've decided to cancel it, I'm sure they ain't going to cover you as vendors. Do you know what I mean? So, or if it did, then the games are at a loss. And I was very confident that it wasn't going to be cancelled, but people couldn't think like that, and it was odd. It was odd, but I'm glad at points there were people like you, Brent Fikowskis, that would just come forward.
It's good that they were looking after the rookies. So
they were. And said like, look, like this isn't going to get resolved this weekend.
Yeah,
it's the work starts on Monday, and this is what we're going to do. If you care about the longevity, we need to do something and go out there and perform. But at the same time, if you don't feel like you can carry on, please don't.
Yeah.
And if you do, please do. Like,
but then just respect everyone.
Exactly.
Decisions. And I think that was the thing that I mentioned to you downstairs when we were chatting about some of the posts that people made upon exiting the games. I found them a little bit difficult to stomach. So, like ones like Adler posted something about CrossFit's values not aligning with his own, so he's leaving. And it was like, what do you mean by that? And also, if you're saying that you're morally superior to CrossFit, are you then saying you're morally superior to all those athletes that carried on? And I think, don't make a post saying that. Make a post saying, I don't want to continue, I'm sad or whatever. And people respect that. I think when you try and claim moral superiority, I think that comes across negatively, because everything's going to come out in the wash anyway. Don't make an emotional post saying you're this, you're that. Just do what you want to do without trying to...
Ariel Lowen put up a post and it just said, the show doesn't always have to go on. And I was like...
Didn't she carry on competing though?
Exactly. I think she pulled out on the last day, maybe. now, I don't know if I feel great about this. Like, there was people that maybe then didn't perform well, and I'm but let's hope that it wasn't like that. But that's something else you got to think about. But to say like the show doesn't always have to, I'm like, but you decided to carry on.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? Like,
it's like all the teams that I don't know all of them, but I know the one team in particular that delayed the start of one of their workouts for a minute and then asked for the minute back.
Yes, I heard about that. I didn't know about that. That was Noah Olsen's team.
Yeah, crazy. So when the cameras are on, you're moral virtue signaling, we're going to wait a minute and show our respect. But then when the cameras are off, you're like, can I have that minute back? Imagine donating, donating 100 quid to charity. They're ringing them up and saying, can you send me that 100 quid back?
Why did you do it?
Yeah.
Did you do it because it looks good? I know.
And that's the challenge. And then they're the kind of people that, I don't know, it makes it all more difficult and further polarizes the community, because if you're showing everyone that you're this, when in reality you're that, but then everyone's making, deciding whether they like CrossFit or hate CrossFit based on something maybe you did.
Yeah. Hence why, like, when Brent stepped out and said all those things about, if you care about the longevity of the sport, and you want this to carry on, like, this is your job at the moment. And if you really care about it, you need to do something that's going to make it carry on. And we had a meeting as like the whole PFAA thing, and people were saying, like, is there some way we can like go against CrossFit and do something else? And he was like, please don't be rational and like quit CrossFit, because people will boycott things and whatnot and move on to other things when they've got a better option. Like, if you're not happy with a football team you're playing for, you'll go play for another team, right? Easy enough. What have we got? We're not going to go into High Rocks or anything like that, because that's not, do you know what I mean? Like, we haven't got...
Become a hybrid athlete.
We're trying. Johnny's, yes.
Yeah, Johnny, fake CrossFit.
But we have no other option to go to. And I, again, like, when he was saying on like the work starts on Monday, that really hit me, and I was like, do you know what? I obviously like put my point up very quickly. He was like, I didn't claim to know him very well, but these are my reasons for wanting to carry on. But I am like truly sad about what's happened. I now feel like I want to be part of it, and if there's any way I can help with the sport going forward, I want to put my view in. So that's hence why I've like asked to be a part of like the PFAA.
Do you meet the criteria? Because isn't it a weird sort of criteria if you've had to have done this for this amount of time?
I thought the way they sort of brought when we were on one of the
they did big calls with all the athletes, didn't they? Like,
say again, sorry.
Didn't they host 2 online calls?
Yes, they did. Yeah, when we were on one of those, I didn't get the sense that you had to be a games athlete to be on it. I
think there's something in their terms or where you have to be to get a say.
There'll be some sort of criteria, I imagine.
You can all join, but to get a say or a vote within the things that they discuss in terms of safety, you have to meet a certain criteria of being at so many games, being at so...
I imagine maybe like for like the board members that represent...
maybe that's what it is.
When we were on this call, they were like, which I understand that, like I won't fit that criteria now. But if there's like we were sort of talking, if there's like a membership scheme where I'll pay £20 for the year to become a member of that also funds them so they can keep pushing their ideas forward. And we got an email a few weeks ago, and there were like 4 points in there of, would I be happy to put my view across on X, Y, and Z points that they had. And like one of them, like for example, was like creating or making sure there is like a risk assessment at most comps, especially like these CrossFit licensed ones. I was like happy with that. Make sure there is a clear movement standard. We need like a book of this is the movement standard for a thruster and something like that.
Don't change it.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you can go to one comp and that standard's fine.
Well, remember just in the quarters, was it, when they changed the burpee standard?
Yeah, exactly. So something like that. And then those I was fine with. There was another one of like, be able to create a fair set of tests. And I replied back to that one of like, I think that needs someone who has way more experience in like the programming side. which is a shame because I'm sure there's so many people that would jump at that.
Yeah.
I
think that's
maybe not necessarily.
Fair's relative as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you mean by fair?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be something you're not great at, and there's always going to be something you excel at. So are you going to say that, right, that didn't have my favourite movement?
I guess it is balance of
modalities, maybe.
Yes, like different modalities and different movement patterns and all sorts of stuff like that.
But I guess if you look at the games over time, some years have favoured things over others. Like this one was favoured like bigger athletes maybe. And then, you know, some have been squat heavy, some have been sort of cardio heavy, some have been overhead heavy.
It's like we know the open that, I don't know, toes to bar and double unders, I think, are the two highest movements that pop up. We know at the games it's squatting and running and you know, so it's stuff like that and I actually put like, I don't feel like I could do that right now.
That's good though. I love
that. But I can own up to that. But I'm like, I wonder how many people will say, I'll do that, and then can't. I don't know.
But those kind of people that are claiming to be able to influence or do something that they can't, they're not helping. You need to be honest.
Brings it back to your Adler post. Like that doesn't help the situation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard.
So the PFAA, since we're talking about them, obviously made their demands. Mm-hmm. I felt they were a little bit toothless in so much as they didn't say much, but you said there was some supporting information that said more, which is good to know. But the only sticking point I had on them was the Dave thing. So they demanded the resignation of. What I found funny as well is they demanded all these things, but this put no what ifs. It was like, we demand, because if you have a demand, it's like, I demand you do this or I won't do this. They didn't seem to, which was a strange terminology. It looked like a strong stance, but then without any sort of threat off the back of it. It seemed a
like leeway either way. Yeah,
but anyway, the Dave thing. Where do you stand on Dave and on that demand specifically from the PFAA?
Like when we were in the talk on the Thursday night. From now, you know, becoming a games athlete and seeing all these others, there's a theme there that it's obviously like a lot of them have felt like this is change that needed to happen for years. I can't comment. Exactly. It's my first one. I've never been a massive Castro fan.
He is polarizing, isn't he? You love him or hate him.
Exactly. I think from you know, like we were talking about, like messing people up, like it's difficult. Like you were saying earlier, like is it he's wants to mess people up, or it doesn't matter what's programmed in front. It's people's mentality, or like they're going to do anything for that best outcome that they can reach.
So actually, you're thinking, like, if you're thinking about a workout, even the safest workout can become unsafe if performed at a ridiculously high intensity. So either all workouts are safe or no workouts are safe.
So I don't know.
Because you said, what was the workout?
Semi-finals, I genuinely thought I was worried I had rhabdo.
And that was the running and clean
jerks.
So if you look at that event on paper, workout on paper, that's safe as houses.
Yeah.
But then the way you pushed yourself in it, and that's what I think is difficult to sort of, you know.
Like I'm not going to, during that, if I was feeling so bad, I wasn't going to stop at any point.
Yeah. So then it becomes, the athlete mentality is to never quit. So therefore any workout could be, that's why I think it's challenging. So say Dave goes and then someone else comes in and programs. If that athlete mentality is to give their entire soul to that workout, there is a possibility that they could, have an event or die. Yeah. Like, so how do you mitigate that by just getting rid of someone that's arguably one of the most experienced programmers?
You know, like that's sport. Like we said, hopefully this was in earlier, like when we were talking about triathlon, and we could go down different routes of like professional, like football and stuff like that. They'll have to do pre-season testing. And certain tests just to check, like checkups to see if they are actually all sound in there. You go to the games, you don't have that. Now, I'm sure that costs so much money that they're not in a place to do, but like, were we all tested? Were we all okay, like given the okay that you can go on? Obviously, like I'm sure with what happened, I'm not saying in any like that Lazar was unhealthy, because Luca's post was like he was really healthy. He's fine. But
apart from the fact,
those precautions aren't.
But what happened to him when he was going up the birch? That he didn't remember going up the top 3 or 4 flights of that, and had an event. And he said, didn't he, in one of the podcasts I saw, he said he thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
So obviously there was something. Yeah. Something was wrong.
Exactly.
But that again, he obviously was comfortable trying to push past that.
It's just
like we mentioned, the mirth in Carson when people drop in from heat stroke. It is just one of those things. There's no quit.
Yeah, literally. So. But like with Dave, from the professional side, I just think a bit of something to spruce it up, freshen it up. He's a showman, and like people love it though. People really, really do love it. But to be taken seriously, it needs to be professionalized a little bit. But then it's hard to do that because you need someone that understands what CrossFit is, because it's a brand. It's not a.
Well, that's it. People see the CrossFit Games and think that's CrossFit, but the CrossFit methodology was originally developed to cure chronic disease. In essence,
people healthier and live longer, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's just been lost along the way. So when you detract from the games, you detract from that message, and that message is, people might see the games and go to their local box, and that when they get into that local box, they become better, don't they?
But that wasn't the way that Glassman started it, right?
No. It's crazy to think how it's come, and now people just see the games as CrossFit.
Yeah, and like
Joe, you wouldn't want to do it, would you?
Joe works here. He asked me, when did I get into CrossFit? And it was 2018 or whatever, or around that time where the games was at its peak and CrossFit was at its peak. And I actually got into it through a friend telling me about it, and he was like, come try it with me. And that's how I got into it. And I loved like the constantly varied aspect of it. And come in and it was always different. The strength and conditioning program side of it that balanced well with my rugby. That's why I got into it and I liked it. I just got into it at that time that it peaked. But a lot of people got into it through watching the games because, like you said, they think that's.
Yeah, and what I found interesting from that is we both got into it from watching the games. And then you became an elite level athlete, and I do it as something to just be healthier and better every day. Yeah. And I'm kind of the target market because you are in the 1%, probably less than that, of people that can actually do that. Whereas if it's aimed more at your everyday person that just wants to get better, now I eat way less shit. I developed a brand because I was always around better people that wanted to work hard. And it's interesting that those two kind of get lost, because CrossFit at its core is for me, not for the elite, isn't it? Almost, which is crazy.
I'm not a massive fan of the forging elite fitness. Because
just forge fitness.
Because we at my old gym, it used to be on the sign, forging elite fitness, and I just used to think, does that put people off?
Yeah,
I don't want to
because I can't be elite.
Exactly.
So if I read that and
I don't want to be elite. It's. So so that's why I'm a bit like, let's freshen it up.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I like Dave, but like I can see why people don't. But like the year with Boz, it was a bit more varied, a bit different.
It was,
so if you as an athlete have got a unique perspective on it, and if you think that, then I will take
exactly. Yeah.
So next year, then, Dave or not, what do we want? What's the goal, mate?
The goal is to go back, obviously. But now it is the main goals. We want to podium at semi-finals.
Yeah.
So we just want to be better on all of the last results. Podium at semi-finals and get closer to that top 10 at the games.
Well, I believe in you, mate. I think the trajectory you're on, we're going in that direction. So, let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Thanks for being my first guest,
thank you very much.
Mate.
Let's
hope we can cut that together with all that shit we miss. And if you're
just not recording again.
No.